Something just shifted, and you felt it, didn't you? Maybe it was quiet. Maybe no one else noticed. But deep inside, something in your life moved in a way it hasn't in a long time. A decision, a step, a moment of courage when you could have stayed comfortable. But you didn't. And now you're wondering, did that really matter? Did that one move change anything at all? What if I told you that sometimes the smallest unseen decisions carry the greatest weight? That one moment where you chose discipline over distraction, silence over reaction, growth over comfort, can echo further than you realize. We often expect powerful outcomes to come from loud, dramatic actions. But real transformation, it usually begins in quiet choices no one applauds. Think about it. How many times have people waited for a perfect moment to act? A sign, a guarantee, some kind of confirmation before they move forward. But you moved anyway, without certainty, without applause, without knowing the outcome. That kind of move is rare, and rarity carries power. There's a pattern in life that many overlook. When a person acts with intention, especially when it's difficult, it creates a ripple effect. Not just externally, but internally. Your mindset shifts, your standards rise, your identity begins to change, and once that shift happens, the world around you begins to respond differently. Opportunities appear where there were none. Clarity replaces confusion. Doors that once felt invisible suddenly come into view. But here's the real question. Why do these moments feel so intense? Why does one decision sometimes feel heavier than 100 others? Because deep down, you recognize when something aligns with your higher self. You recognize when you've stepped out of fear and into purpose. And even if you can't explain it, you feel the significance. There are people who spend years stuck in cycles, repeating the same patterns, making the same excuses, avoiding the same fears. And then there are moments like yours, a break in the pattern, a disruption, a declaration, even if silent, that you are no longer willing to stay where you were. That kind of shift doesn't go unnoticed, not by your own mind, not by your environment, and not by the natural flow of cause and effect that governs everything around us. Have you noticed how after making a bold move, things begin to rearrange themselves? Conversations change, your focus sharpens. Even challenges start to feel different, not as obstacles, but as tests. It's almost as if life responds to your level of commitment. When you take yourself seriously, everything else begins to follow, and maybe right now, you're standing in that space between action and outcome. That uncertain zone where nothing has fully manifested yet, but something feels different. That's the space where many people lose faith in their own decisions. They start doubting, second guessing, wondering if they made a mistake. But what if this is actually the moment where everything is aligning behind the scenes? What if the move you made set something into motion that you simply can't see yet? Because sometimes the most powerful shifts don't announce themselves immediately. They build. They gather momentum. And when they finally reveal themselves, they don't look small at all. You're still in that between space, aren't you? That quiet stretch where you've already made the move, but the result hasn't fully arrived yet. It can feel confusing, even unsettling. Because part of you expects immediate proof that what you did mattered. But instead, you're met with silence, or at least what feels like silence. But is it really silence? Or is it preparation? There's something important most people never understand. Just because you can't see movement doesn't mean nothing is happening. In fact, some of the most important shifts take place beneath the surface, out of sight, beyond your immediate awareness. Think about seeds planted in the ground. For a while, there's no visible growth, nothing to show. But underneath, roots are forming, anchoring, expanding, preparing for what's about to rise. What if your situation is no different? What if that decision you made was the planting of something that now requires time to take shape? Not because it's weak, but because it's significant. Because anything truly meaningful needs a foundation strong enough to support it. And foundations are rarely visible. This is the moment where patience becomes more than just waiting. It becomes trust in your own action. Trust that what you did was not random, not wasted, not insignificant. But here's the challenge: your mind doesn't always cooperate. It starts asking questions. What if nothing happens? What if you misread the situation? What if that move changes nothing at all? And suddenly, doubt tries to rewrite the meaning of your decision. But let's be honest. If you hadn't made that move, where would you be right now? In the same place, with the same thoughts, the same hesitation, the same feeling of being stuck. So even before any external result appears, something has already changed you. You prove to yourself that you are capable of acting differently, that you are not controlled by fear or habit, that you can break your own patterns. And that alone is powerful. Because once a person sees themselves differently, they can never fully go back to who they were before. Now here's something deeper to consider. Sometimes, after a bold move, things don't immediately get easier. In fact, they can feel more intense, more pressure, more resistance. Why? Because growth often reveals what still needs to be strengthened. It exposes gaps. It challenges your consistency. It asks you, are you really ready for what you just stepped toward? This isn't punishment. It's refinement. It's the process that separates temporary motivation from real transformation. Anyone can make one bold decision. But can you stand by it when things feel uncertain? Can you remain steady when results are delayed? Can you keep moving forward without constant reassurance? That's where the real shift happens. And here's the truth most people overlook. The moment after you make a powerful move is not the time to retreat. It's the time to stabilize, to hold your ground, to protect the new direction you've chosen. Because this is where many people lose what they just gained. Not because their decision was wrong, but because they abandoned it too soon. So if you're feeling that tension right now, that mix of hope and uncertainty, understand this: it's not a sign that nothing is happening. It's a sign that something is in progress, something that requires your patience, your focus, and your willingness to stay committed, even when you can't yet see the full picture. Because sometimes what's coming next is bigger than what you expected. And it needs a version of you. It doesn't turn back. Something is about to become clear in a way you didn't expect. Not because you forced it, not because you chased it, but because you stayed steady long enough for things to reveal themselves naturally. This is the stage where the noise begins to fade, and what truly matters starts to stand out with precision. Have you noticed it yet? The way certain distractions no longer pull you in like they used to. The way your focus has sharpened, almost without effort. That's not random. That's the result of you holding your position when it would have been easier to drift. And now, because of that, you're starting to see things for what they really are. Clarity like this doesn't come from overthinking. It comes from alignment, from consistency, from choosing again and again not to fall back into old patterns. And as this clarity grows, so does your ability to make decisions without hesitation. You're no longer stuck in endless cycles of doubt. You're not waiting for permission. You're acting from a place that feels grounded, even if it's unfamiliar. But here's where things get interesting. When your clarity increases, your awareness expands, and with that comes a deeper understanding of what's been holding you back all along. Patterns you didn't fully recognize before start to become obvious. Behaviors, environments, even certain influences reveal their true impact on your life. And once you see it clearly, you can't unsee it. That realization can feel intense, sometimes even uncomfortable. Because it asks you to accept that some things you tolerated, some things you normalized, were never actually helping you grow. But this isn't a moment of regret. It's a moment of power, because awareness gives you choice, and choice gives you direction. So now the question becomes, what will you do with this clarity? Will you use it to reinforce the path you've started, or will you hesitate and allow old habits to slowly creep back in? Because make no mistake, this is another defining point. Not as loud as the first move you made, but just as important. This is where you prove that your change wasn't temporary. And here's something most people don't talk about. As you step deeper into this version of yourself, not everyone around you will understand it. Some may question you. Some may even resist the changes they see in you. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your growth challenges their comfort, and that can create distance. But distance isn't always loss. Sometimes it's necessary space for you to fully step into who you're becoming. It allows you to protect your focus, to strengthen your direction, to continue evolving without constant interference. And over time, you'll find that the right connections, those aligned with your growth, begin to appear naturally. So don't rush this phase. Don't try to force everything into place. Let things unfold. Stay grounded in your actions. Stay aware of your direction. And most importantly, stay honest with yourself about what you're experiencing. Because this clarity you're gaining right now, it's not just showing you where you've been. It's preparing you for what comes next, and then it happens, not all at once. Not in the way you imagined, but in a way that feels undeniable. The shift you've been holding, the discipline you maintained, the clarity you built, it begins to translate into something real, something visible. What once felt uncertain now carries a sense of direction. What once felt delayed now starts to make sense. Have you ever noticed how certain moments in life only become meaningful when you look back at them? At the time, they feel confusing, even frustrating. But later you realize they were necessary. Every delay, every test, every moment of doubt was shaping you into someone capable of handling what was coming. This is that moment for you. Not because everything suddenly becomes perfect, but because you can finally see the connection between your actions and what's unfolding around you. The move you made, the one that felt risky, quiet, maybe even invisible to others, has started a chain reaction. And now, the results are no longer just internal. They're beginning to show up in your reality. Opportunities feel more aligned. Decisions feel clearer. Even challenges start to feel different. Not like barriers, but like stepping stones guiding you forward. And the most powerful part, you're not reacting the way you used to. You're not overwhelmed. You're not second-guessing every step. You're moving with a sense of calm confidence that wasn't there before. So what changed? You did. You became someone who follows through. Someone who doesn't collapse under uncertainty. Someone who understands that real progress doesn't come from waiting. It comes from acting. Then staying committed to that action long enough for it to evolve into something meaningful. And here's where everything comes together. That miracle, you were waiting for, it doesn't always arrive as something sudden or dramatic. Sometimes it reveals itself as alignment, as doors opening at the right time, as clarity replacing confusion, as strength where there used to be hesitation. It shows up as a series of moments that, when combined, create an outcome you once thought was out of reach. But it all traces back to that one move. The one where you chose growth over comfort. The one where you stepped forward without guarantees. The one where you decided, even quietly, that you were ready for something more. And now you're here, standing in a version of your life that didn't exist before that decision. Seeing possibilities you couldn't see before. Feeling a level of control and awareness that once felt distant. And realizing that what you thought was a small step was actually a turning point. So as you move forward from here, remember this. You don't need to wait for perfect conditions to act. You don't need constant reassurance to keep going. You've already proven something to yourself, that you can make a powerful move and stand by it. And that ability, it changes everything. Because once you understand that your actions can create this level of shift, you stop underestimating yourself. You stop hesitating at every opportunity. You start trusting that even the quiet decisions you make carry weight. And maybe that's the real transformation. Not just what you receive, but who you become in the process of earning it. And now you're beginning to understand something most people spend years trying to figure out. It was never just about that one moment. It was about what that moment unlocked within you. Because once you've experienced this kind of shift, where a single decision changes your direction, your mindset, and your outcomes, you start to see life differently. You stop seeing yourself as someone waiting for change, and start seeing yourself as someone capable of creating it. That realization is powerful. Think about who you were before that move. The hesitation, the overthinking, the constant questioning of, what if? And now look at yourself. There's a difference. Maybe it's subtle, maybe no one else fully sees it yet, but you feel it. A certain steadiness, a certain awareness, a certain control over your own direction, and that's something no external situation can take away from you. But here's where it goes even deeper. Now that you've stepped into this level of awareness, life will begin to present you with new choices. Not the same ones you used to face, but more refined ones. Opportunities that require a higher level of discipline. Situations that test not your courage to start, but your strength to maintain. And the question becomes, will you continue to move with the same intention that brought you here? Because growth doesn't stop at one breakthrough. It evolves. It expands. It calls you to keep rising, to keep refining, to keep becoming more aligned with the person you've started to uncover. You might notice that your tolerance for certain things continues to decrease. Distractions that once consumed your time now feel empty. Environments that once felt normal now feel limiting. Even your own habits will come under a new level of awareness, pushing you to either elevate them or leave them behind. This isn't pressure. This is progression. It's the natural result of you stepping into a higher standard. And while it may feel challenging at times, it's also a sign that you're no longer operating at the same level you once were. So instead of resisting it, lean into it. Trust that each new challenge is not there to stop you, but to sharpen you. Trust that each new opportunity is not random, but connected to the path you've chosen. And most importantly, trust that the same mindset that carried you through your first powerful move is still within you, ready to guide you through whatever comes next. Because here's the truth. What you experienced wasn't luck. It wasn't coincidence. It was the direct result of a decision backed by action and sustained by consistency. And now that you've seen what's possible, you can't go back to thinking small, acting small, or settling for less than what you know you're capable of. So the next time you feel that inner push, that quiet signal telling you it's time to move again, don't ignore it. Don't wait for everything to make sense. Remember this moment. Remember what happened when you chose to act, despite uncertainty. Remember how things aligned, how clarity came, how strength replaced doubt. Because that wasn't the end of your story. That was proof of what you can do. And from this point forward, every move you make carries that same potential to shift everything.